Et je donne maintenant la parole au représentant permanent de l'Allemagne.
Mr. President, please allow me to first thank you for the personal attention that you attribute to the topic of the Security Council reform. We're very grateful both to you and our chair, Ambassador Tanning, for the fact that we were already able to hold one informal plenary session under your presidency of the General Assembly. Mr. President, the importance of UN reform, in particular the reform of the Security Council, cannot be overstated. There are concerns about global governance being restructured and the recreation and the creation of new international formats such as the G20. We are witnessing an important reform of the International Monetary Fund these days. The concern is that the United Nations might be left behind in this process, as its basic structure has essentially remained unchanged since 1945, while UN membership has grown from 51 at the time to nowadays 192 member states. It is our responsibility as member states of the United Nations to ensure that these concerns do not become reality. Time does not play in favor of the UN if an adaptation of its structures to the realities of our times cannot soon be achieved. We must arrive at a reform compromise if the Security Council shall preserve its place at the heart of the multilateral system. With its unique claim for legitimacy and its indispensable functions as outlined in the Charter of the United Nations, it must, in our view, remain the body that deals with threats to peace and security in the world. Therefore, we should not lose any more time in the reform process. We welcome the fact that it is now ever more widely recognized that the Council's future composition will reflect current geopolitical realities. President Obama has delivered an important speech in New Delhi at the beginning of this week, highlighting this particular fact. We have to ensure that the Security Council can play its role in the 21st century. The overwhelming majority of member states considers this aim to be served best by an expansion of the Council in both of its membership categories. Like our African partners and many others, Germany and its G4 partners firmly support this model of expansion. That was a clear result of the 64th session, and it is reflected in the second version of the negotiation text, which was put forward by the chair of the Intergovernmental Negotiations, Ambassador Tanning. We now need to build upon this result. All of us will have to engage in the endeavor to find a compromise solution with the broadest possible support. Mr. President, I appeal to us all to now swiftly take the negotiation process in the informal plenary one step further and to arrive at a third version of the negotiation text by the end of this year. This version should eliminate overlaps and merge identical positions and thus be significantly shorter than the second version. We call on you, Mr. President, and the chairman of the intergovernmental negotiations to work with member states, possibly also in groups, and aim for a shortened version by the end of the year. This should eventually be used as an opportunity to narrow down the options. This should be the basis of any stock-taking. The membership could then start with actual negotiations about the reform by the beginning of next year. we should firmly envisage a concrete outcome by the end of the 65th session. Let me stress that we should arrive at a reform which changes the Council for the better. In doing so, a permanent African presence on the Council, as well as the permanent presence of other countries from the South, from Latin America, and also from Asia on the Council is essential. But those who are the largest contributors to the maintenance of international peace and security will of course have to equally assume their rightful place. Last but not least, the improvement of the working methods of the Security Council is another essential element of the reform. A council thus reformed would better serve the interests of all member states. I thank you, Mr. President.
Je remercie le représentant permanent de l'Allemagne de sa contribution.